fetchai is building an open access, tokenized, decentralized machine learning network to enable smart infrastructure in the digital economy. And with me is Humayun and Sheikh, the CEO of fetchai, as well as Jonathan Moore, the Chief Technology Officer. So great to have you both here, and great to see you again, Humayun. Nice to meet you, John.
Thank you for inviting us again, Jane. Yes. It's always a pleasure.
Well, very happy to meet you again.
So let's talk about the collective learning. We discussed this briefly, Humayun, in a previous interview that we did, but what is it, and could you go into a little bit more depth about what it is exactly?
Yeah, so what we are building is a new architecture and a business model around bringing machine learning and AI to a collaborative environment. So what we're really trying to do is bringing different stakeholders who can then train these machine learning models, which in current form would be either dominated by bigger corporations, or you'll have to spend quite a lot of infrastructure costs to bring machine learning and AI in terms of the data sets and in terms of the human resource who can actually do the machine learning and training of the models. So what we are doing is we're opening it up to a collaborative environment and building the architecture, the infrastructure where people can come in and benefit from already trained models, train new models, and share these models for a collective improvement of the model.
Okay, so everybody can learn from that information and nobody gets an edge, apparently, right? Is how I'm understanding it?
Yes, and also you keep your data secure. Okay. It's with you. You don't move the data around. All you do is you still improve the models. You actually learn from each other's data sets, but you don't actually share the data itself.
Interesting. Okay, so John, explain exactly how the collective learning works.
Well, so we use a combination of blockchain technology and machine learning technology, and what blockchain's really good for is coordinating the activities of different stakeholders, and you can introduce different kinds of governance models over the way the machine learning model is trained. So you can use economic incentives. You could have a consortium of businesses defining some rules, potentially through legal means, and that provides you the flexibility to serve lots of different use cases.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then Humayun, what's the problem associated with healthcare data in context of the pandemic, and then what is the benefit of your approach?
So if you look at what's been happening is that a lot of hospitals are doing these X-rays, and you look at the X-ray, you try and detect what infection looks like on an X-ray, for example, and various hospitals would have done their own data sets. These won't be huge amounts of data sets, but you have enough data sets that you can actually train a machine learning model which can automatically detect COVID, right? For example. Now, if you look at just one hospital, then their data set is limited to that, and you can only do so much machine learning on that data set. Now, if you bring all of these hospitals together, now it doesn't matter which country, and you can have multiple countries within countries, you can have similar organization, you can have separate organizations. Now, if they all put the data together and train a model, that would be a much better model. Mm-hmm. And John can give you more technical details, but what our architecture enables you to do is get that model trained by all the distributed data sets that is available. And what that enables you to do is it includes much more variance in the data set. It also improves the machine learning model itself a lot quicker, and new joiners or the new trainers of the model can very quickly accelerate their learning, and actually they can start seeing results from the model.
Mm. Now, Jonathan, how successful has collective learning been so far?
Well, so I mean, what we showed is a kind of proof of concept. What you can imagine is that you have a situation where, especially with a pandemic, a kind of kind of really urgent threat, data initially is at a huge premium. So in some of the experiments we've done, we've seen what would happen if the data sets are still quite small. So you can imagine a hospital might start off only having, a few hundred examples, which is, not enough really to train an accurate model. So the real benefit that we showed with the system is that by combining the information from across those multiple data sets, again, as Humayun said, without sharing the data crucially, what you can do is get a dramatic improvement in the performance. So they would all automatically, very quickly, have a very accurate machine learning model that they could use to diagnose patients. And in this particular case, we actually made some improvements to the training protocol, and we were able to get around 97% accuracy in discriminating COVID pneumonia from other kinds of pneumonia. So what we showed really was that if this infrastructure had been available early on in the pandemic, it could have provided early benefits in terms of triaging patients and improving their care early on.
Now, CoLearn is a product that sits on the Fetch network. So can you explain what that is and how it's used in the system?
CoLearn is just a suite of products which we're building, which is to do with collective learning. And you have various different kind of Lego blocks type approach. So you could have, for example, different consensus models. You can deploy it in a permission or an unpermissioned system, which means the commercial organizations can deploy a private network, or other participants can deploy a public network. So there are different types of products, which I think John can probably give you a bit more kind of flavor of the machine learning side of it. But it's a suite of products which we plan to release over the next year or so, and which will enable people to do collective learning much easier, much more plug and play system where you don't have to worry too much about having even people who understand machine learning. You can deploy it without that.
Okay, John, do you want to add anything to that, the machine learning part?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would add is that obviously, organizations struggle to do machine learning already, and part of what we're doing by providing more access to data is to make that process easy. And I would say what CoLearn is towards doing so is actually building a set of tools so people can get involved. They can start collaborating with others to actually build the model more easily and more effectively than they can themselves. And that also involves potentially sharing expertise and knowledge between the different organizations, coming to agreement on what kind of model works best, what kind of problem works best, and those kind of more, I would say, kind of governance orientated things that blockchains are also really good at solving.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Humayun, let's wrap it up. So what's next for collective learning with fetchai?
We, over the next months and over the next couple of years, we intend to bring new products out in the market, which will enable people to deploy different types of machine learning problems and solutions. So over the next few months and over a couple of years, we'll be bringing out a marketplace for these machine learning models, where you'd be able to find the collaboration partners, where you'd be able to find collaboration models. You'll be able to deploy very easily, so you don't have to worry about where the data is stored. You don't have to worry about what kind of consensus model. It's a plug and play Lego-based AI machine learning system, and that could be deployed in different verticals, including healthcare, fintech, mobility, any.
Very interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much, Humayun and John, for joining us and explaining this part of the company. And I look forward to talking to you again.
It's been a pleasure as usual.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.